So I am going to start by sharing my screen with you. I'm going to show you what it looks like for students and for you as adults within the system. If you have questions, please feel free to stop me. I want to make sure that you understand how to use your system. So on this side of my screen, this is what students see when they log in. They are able to set up several favorites. These are kind of like speed dial or hot buttons. When they first log in, all of these will be blank and they will see you can add up to 10 favorites. They can just click on one. They're going to put in the search field who they want to make a hot button. They click on it, change the check mark to green and click select. Oh, it's already one of my favorites. Let me change that. And then that adult will now be one of their speed dial buttons. So just make it a little bit easier on them when they're making passes. They can set up to 10 origination locations. So they answer 2 questions, where they are and where they'd like to go. They can set up to 10 favorites. They do have a drop down, so they can find any adult in the building. So if someone needs to quickly cover someone else's class, you don't have to worry that the students won't be able to find you. They can. They have a drop down that's going to list every adult. And then also where they want to go, students can set up to 5 favorites to answer that question as well. When you log in, the first place you're going to want to go to under your name is what we call My Profile. So when you click on that, you're going to be able to upload any image that you want. This image is something that you will see on your system, but also if a student makes you a speed dial button, they're going to see that image as well. You can set your title within Ehallpass. Your first name and last name are going to be pulled in from Clever, so hopefully that's correct. There aren't any issues with that. This new password field you will not see. I'm in your system as a guest, so that's why I have that here. The next question is very important. It says, do you want students to be able to create passes to and from you? Most of the time, you're going to want to have this clicked over to yes. There is an menu item which is called out of office where you can temporarily set it up so students and teachers cannot write passes to you during that time, and that will automatically turn off. If you click on this no and you have a student who's trying to leave your classroom, they're not going to be able to find you in the drop down. And so if that happens to you, I would just encourage you, pop in your profile, see if the no was accidentally clicked, make sure it's clicked on yes, and then the student should be able to find you either as the location they're leaving or the location they're trying to go to. The final item that you're going to set up in your profile is your PIN. This needs to be unique to you. It can be between 4 and 6, either letters, numbers, characters, or any type of combination. You have the ability to approve passes in and out on the student's device. Now, right now, a lot of schools are shying away from the shared device, and so you also can approve those passes on your dashboard on your own device. But you do have the option of doing it on the student's device, and so that's where your PIN comes into play. It has to be unique to you, so if anyone's favorite number is 3003, I'm sorry you can't have that PIN. I've already assigned it to this user. But as you're putting in the pins, if you pick a pin that someone else has, you're just going to get a little message that says, this pin has already been chosen, please pick a new one. So if you want to, you can upload a photo, your name is going to pull through, you put your pin in, and then you click Save Profile. If at any time you want to update your pin, update your photo, you're able to manage that on your own under My Profile. Most of the time you're going to be on Dashboard. The dashboard is going to show you not only the active passes of students who have left your classroom or are coming to see you, but also your building-wide hall traffic. So on the dashboard, you'll see I'm clicked over to only My Active. But if I click to All Active, I'm able to see the pass of a student that is not leaving me and is not coming to me, but is currently in the hallway. I'm going to go back to only My Active. This is where you're going to want to be most of the time because any adult can interact with anyone else's pass. Sometimes that would be on purpose if there was a lockdown drill and student 3 was closest to my classroom, and so I bring them in and I click end and keep on that pass. So the teacher that they're leaving and the location that is expecting them lets them know where that student is. But most of the time, you're going to want to be over to only My Active, so you're interacting with the passes of students that are leaving you or coming to see you. So I'm going to show you just a quick run through of what it looks like for a student to create a pass who wants to leave your classroom and how you're going to interact with that. So the student is going to choose where they're leaving and where they would like to go. We're going to go to the bathroom, cafe, girls. Again, all of your bathroom locations are already put into your system. They're broken up both male and female. So you just want to look for that a student is choosing the correct location. Once they choose where they're going, it is going to make some changes down here to the comment area. For your bathroom passes, we have comments as hidden, which means there's no text field here. Students cannot give you any more information about their request to go to that location. If, however, they choose another adult in your building, you're going to see this now says reason for pass required. The student needs to put the reason in why they want to leave your classroom and go see this other adult before they click create pass. If they don't, they're going to get this message, please put the reason in for the pass. And then depending on the comment settings for other locations in your building, you might see the reason for the pass optional. And then students can put the reason in, but they don't have to. For this location, there is a limit set, and that limit has been met for the nurse location. So you see the student got this message, the maximum capacity of the location has been reached. Please try again later when a student returns. So we're going to change back to the bathroom with the hidden comments and click create pass. Now you have 2 ways of approving this pass. Again, on the student's device, if you want to, you can click anywhere in this white box and put your PIN number in and click approve. If you don't want to touch the student's device, the student will create the pass on their own device, and then on your device, on your dashboard, you're going to see this white waiting for approval pass. This pass will sit here for 5 minutes for you to approve. If you don't want to approve it, you could click cancel. You don't actually have to touch it. After 5 minutes, it'll simply go away. If that student wants to request to leave your classroom later on in the period, they would need to make a new request, and that would sit on your dashboard for 5 minutes. So I am going to approve this pass simply by clicking this approve button on my dashboard. Now you can be signed in to more than one device at a time. So if you have a computer in your classroom, you can be signed into Ehallpass there. If you also carry your cell phone in your pocket as you're moving around your classroom, you could be signed into Ehallpass on your phone. Either one of those, you can go to your dashboard and interact with the passes. On the student's device, once you click approve, it changes to green and it starts a timer for them. So they have green, green means go, they are allowed to leave your classroom, they do not need to bring their device. Any and every adult can click over to all active and see that I have given permission for this student to leave my classroom and head to this specific bathroom. Now, if you were to, if you're, a hall monitor, or you were just verifying the students as you pass in the hallway are the ones that have passes, and let's say you find the student in a completely different section of the school where they shouldn't be. Even though that student did not have a section or an area to put any comments about this pass, you as an adult on the dashboard have this dialog box. At any time during that pass, if you're the sending teacher, the receiving teacher, you catch them in the hallway, at any time you can click on that dialog box and add a comment. Now, if you do add a comment, the other adult will see it, any adult will see it on the dashboard. The student will also see it on their device. So this dialog box is not a private messaging system between the adults in your building. It is for anyone who can see this pass, so that would be other adults, and then also the student would be able to see it on their device. So when that student comes back into the classroom, I'm going to go back over to only my active. This student of mine has gone to the bathroom and now they've come back into my classroom. I need to end that pass. So I'm going to click End and Keep on my dashboard. If I want to see any of the ended passes, you can click on Include Ended Passes, and you're going to be able to see them here. Even though this pass has ended, you still can add a comment. So if later on you find out that there was a situation that happened while that student was in the bathroom, you can add a comment here so that it is recorded with this pass in Ehallpass's history. Again, if the student has their device open and it's resting on that ended pass, when you add a comment, they are going to be able to see it. You also have an edit button for any pass that you are associated with. So if this student really came back into my classroom at 12:15, I was engaged in teaching, I couldn't click end the very moment that they walked through the door. After I am able to get to that pass and end it, I can go to the edit button and change the time to reflect reality. You click confirm, and now this pass is going to show that it lasted only a minute. That student walked back into the classroom at 12:15, and it's just noted with this little red edited word here. I'm going to show you another type of pass. The student, sorry, I have to move our faces. So the student has a menu. They go to Create Pass. And this time they're going to leave the teacher and go to the admin. They have to put a reason in. They're going to get a book that they forgot. They're going to click Create Pass. Before you approve this pass, you are given some information. On the student's device in the upper left-hand corner, there's this number 1 in a red circle. If you click on that, you're able to see the pass history for the student today. On your dashboard, next to the student's name in this gray circle, you can click on the number 1. And again, you're able to see today's pass history. So if this student was requesting to go to the bathroom and you know 4 minutes ago they just got back from the bathroom, maybe your decision would be to not approve this pass. But this number, both on your dashboard and on the student's device, is going to show you all of the passes for today. The next day it's going to reset to 0, and then as they have passes, that number will increase. So we're going to approve this pass on the dashboard. And I want to show you, as the receiving teacher, you have several options on how you want to interact with this pass. If the student is coming to meet with you, you're going to meet, you're not quite sure how long, but eventually you're going to want to send them back to their original teacher, you would choose the Arrive button. If, like in this instance, where the student is just coming in to grab a book that they left and they're headed right back to their original teacher, you can choose the In and Out. It's going to give 2 timestamps. Or if that student is going to be staying with you for the rest of the period, you can click End and Keep. Before you click any of these buttons, or after you click any of these buttons, you can add a comment if you want to let the sending teacher know something about why you're keeping the student, or that they weren't able to find their book here. You can add that comment here, and again, the student will see it on their own device. So I am going to click Arrived, and I want to point out the pass was from the teacher to the admin, but I, as the teacher, am the one that interacted with this pass. The system is going to show anyone that was unexpected in red. Every adult can interact on every pass, but if it's not the expected individual, it's going to show up in red just as a visual indicator. Maybe it's fine, maybe I'm covering that classroom so it makes sense that I'm approving the passes in and out. Some other things that it could indicate is that maybe the admin and I have very similar pins, and when I put it in on the student's device, I thought that I put in my pin number, but I actually put in someone else's. Their name would come up in red. The system is going to accept that pin, but you might want to have a conversation with the other adult that's involved. The other thing that could have happened is when you put your PIN in on the student's device, a student saw your PIN and now is using it inappropriately to approve passes for themselves in and out of locations that you are not involved with. I'm going to click end. I would encourage you at the end of the day to go to all active passes, include ended passes, and just do a quick visual search to see if your name comes up in red. It might indicate that your PIN has been compromised, and so it's a good habit to make of just looking at the ended passes real quick. You should be able to see if your name comes up in red. I'm going to go back over to all active and remove the ended passes. I want to show you up here you have some additional quick information. Next to my passes, these are your active passes versus the total that you've written today. For building passes, it's the active number of building passes versus the total. And then flagged passes, I'm going to come back down to this color legend. So we saw the white waiting for approval pass. As soon as you give approval, it changes to green. If the student took 10 minutes or longer to get to their location, the pass is going to change to yellow. Just as a visual indicator, the student has been gone for a while. You don't have to remember the moment that the student left your classroom and look at the clock and do the math to figure out how long they've been gone. At 10 minutes, the system is going to let you know the student has been gone for a while. You might want to follow up with them. At 30 minutes, the system will end the pass. It will determine that the student has not come back to your classroom, and instead of that pass sitting on your dashboard for an hour or 2 hours, it's going to remove it after 30 minutes. And you are going to be able to see it in included ended passes. It will be red, it will have a flag, your flagged pass number will increase to let you know that a student has been out for 30 minutes or longer. Now it could be that that student came back into your classroom and you just weren't able to click them in right away, and then you forgot to go back and do it later. You can go to those include ended passes and edit that flagged pass to show the correct time of when that student came in. The last two colors here, you just saw the ended passes show up in gray. And then if there are any locations that are set up to be extended passes, perhaps your nurse, it takes more than 30 minutes for a student to get down there, to be seen, for the decision to be made to either send them home or send them back to class. Those passes will not end at 30 minutes. They're going to keep running for an hour and a half. Students have no idea what locations are extended pass times, but you as adults can see that on your dashboard. Do you have any questions about how a student creates a pass or how you interact with that as an adult in the classroom? Okay, I'm going to show you a feature that is available to you, which will actually make passes even easier on you as the adult in the classroom. Each one of you, when you log in, you're going to see this blue button that says Auto Pass. If you click on that, you're given two different boxes where you can put different locations. The first box says Start and Stop by the student. The second box is just where students can start a pass on their own. So I'm going to pull up, let's say the cafe bathroom, is closest to my classroom. And so I'm okay with a student starting and stopping their pass to the cafe bathroom. I'm going to put that in the first box. I'm also going to decide on the limit. This is the number of students at one time that can leave my classroom on an auto pass. Now, other students can also leave the classroom, but I'm going to need to approve those. So I'm going to set it to 1. I'm going to click Save. You as the teacher will need to let your students know which locations you have set up as auto pass if you want to offer any of them to your students. It's completely up to you if you use this feature or not. And then you'll also want to let them know what workflow you want them to use within auto pass. Some teachers want students just to raise their hand and get verbal permission, and then the student would create the pass from the teacher to the location that they want to go to. The teacher has said, that's fine. You may create and start your pass. When they click create, they're now going to have the start button, so they can start that pass on their own. You as the adult in the classroom do not need to touch the student's device or even your own device. The student can start that pass. Some teachers will ask the student to bring their Chromebook up to an empty desk at the front of the classroom. You can visually see who gets up, who puts down their Chromebook. It's also a nice visual indicator for the rest of the kids in the class. If they know you've set that limit to 1 and one student has already left on the auto pass, they don't need to create it. They don't need to ask you about going to the bathroom until that one student has returned. So again, the student's going to be leaving their device in your classroom. Any and every adult can go over to All Active and see that the student has an approved pass to go to this location. Once the student comes back into the classroom, because I set this up as start and stop by the student, they can simply click the stop button, and then there will be a record within in Ehallpass of who left your classroom, where they went, and how long they were gone. You didn't have to touch any device in order to store that information. So again, the auto pass blue button is going to be on your dashboard. You're going to decide which type of auto pass you want to offer. The auto pass start only by the student gives them the start button, but then when they walk back into your classroom, you would need to click end on your dashboard in order to end that pass. The limits are between 1 and 20. You also can turn off this feature. So if you have it set up with your 6 different rooms, but there's one class during your day that can't handle this, you can set it to turn off during that one class. And then you can go back to auto pass and set that limit back to the 1 or whatever other limit you have for the rest of your students for the rest of that day. The final limit that is available to you is no limit, which means unlimited. If you have a study hall and you want to let more than 20 students out of your class at one time, you can set this to no limit. If you want to completely remove this, so no students are able to use auto pass, you simply click the X to the left of the room. These are now blank. I'm going to click save. You're going to see up here that it shows 0 out of 9. Any student who wants to leave me, I'm going to have to approve that pass either on the student's device or my dashboard and also end it. Do you have any questions about auto pass? Okay. One other item on your dashboard is this advanced search. When school is in session, there's going to be a lot more than just one building pass that's happening at one time. Maybe you have a student who's requesting to go to the nurse. They don't really look that sick. You're trying to decide if you're going to approve the pass or not. You could search for that location and just see right now how many passes are already going to the nurse. You can click search and it would filter out of the passes that are happening right now who is going to this location. Most of the time you're going to have that closed just so that you can see more of your dashboard. On the left side of your screen, we're going to go over the menu items. Your first one is pass history. This is where you can see the passes that have been logged within Ehallpass from today back to the beginning of your system. If you want to come in and do some test passes just to kind of play around and see how they work, I would encourage you to only use these test student names that I have in here right now, student 1, 2, and 3. Otherwise, you're going to be creating pass history for real students within your building. So you have several options here of what pass history you want to see. I could choose one individual student for the last month. How many times have they had a pass? You can click tabular view. It's going to show me that information. You can download this as either an Excel file or a CSV, print it off, show it to the actual student. It's going to record the total number of missed instructional minutes that that student has had for the time that you have set. You can do it as only my passes. You want to know how many times has this student left me for the last month. You would show only my passes, pick the student, the date range, and you're able to see that information. The next function is proxy pass. This is an option for you to write a pass for a student. If they don't have their device, their battery has died, they left their device in their last classroom, you don't need to send a student into the hallway without a pass or with a paper pass. You can come in here and choose the student that you want to send into the hallway. Choose the location that you want to send them to. You have one hot button here. If you need to send a student to the nurse, you can simply click on this. If any location that you choose has hit its maximum capacity, you're going to get this message. So instead, let's send them to guidance. You can put a reason in for the pass. You don't have to, but you do have this optional area. And then I'm going to click submit. It's going to show up on your dashboard green as an approved pass. It looks very similar to when a student writes a pass and you just approve it. The only difference is under type, it has PRX for proxy instead of STU for student. When you receive a student that another teacher wrote the pass for them, you interact with it the same way. You have the same 3 options. I'm going to click in and out for this student. You know, they grab their book, they're headed back to class, and then the original teacher can end that pass when the student shows up. Appointment pass is for when you want to see a student in the future. Maybe next Tuesday, you want to see a student to talk about their upcoming test that they're having. You fill in this information, the student, when you want to see them, the period, the specific time. You don't have to only see them at the beginning of the period. You could put in the last 15 minutes, the last half an hour, whatever time you want to see them. The from question is whose classroom are you plucking that student from? If you know what classroom you're taking that student from, you're going to want to fill this in. It's going to be very helpful for the teacher who's losing that student, and also that teacher is going to help remind the student that they have an appointment. You can also set it up where the student is coming to see you or another adult or a location. If all of your students make up their tests in the library, you could set up an appointment to the library and in the reason say, please make up your math test for Mrs. Lowe. You also can set up the appointment so that several students can see you at one time. You simply use this green plus button to add those additional students in. On the dashboard, if you were the from teacher, next to dashboard, this word appointment, you're going to see a number in this bubble of the students that are being requested from you today. So I have 2. If I click on this, I'm going to see the details of those requests. Now, just because someone is requesting that student from your classroom, it doesn't mean that you have to send them. You have 2 options when someone is requesting a student from you. You could look at this first appointment and say that's absolutely fine. I'm happy to send the student at 2:10. I can acknowledge it. When you click on that green box, it's going to give you a green check mark. So you know that this is fine, and the teacher who's requesting this student also knows that you've already looked at this, and most likely you're going to be able to send that student. Now you could look at another appointment and say, gosh, at 3:10, I'm going to be giving a test. I don't want to send this student to go work on a group project. I want them to remain in my classroom. You can choose deny. When you do that, it's going to ask for a reason. I'm going to put in a generic, it's just not a good time, and click send, because the students also have an appointment pass menu option where they are going to see the appointments that they have, and if one has been canceled, it's going to give the teacher's comment as to why they're canceling that appointment. Students receive a morning agenda email letting them know who wants to see them and when that day. They also receive within Ehallpass a 20-minute reminder and a 5-minute reminder of an upcoming appointment, all in the hopes that they will show up for that appointment that you have set for them. Again, if you fill in the from teacher of whose class you're plucking that student from. They will be able to see it on their dashboard. If any students are being requested from you, you're going to see it on your dashboard. But also on Appointment Pass, underneath where you create the appointment, you're able to see all of the appointments for your school. If there's a student that you want to see and you know that several other teachers likely are also creating appointments to see the student, you could search for them by name. If you want to see if a particular day is busy, you can filter the searches by any of these items. Do you have any questions about Appointment Pass? The final function I want to show you is the out of office. If you need to step out of your classroom, and so you don't want any students walking down to your classroom to find it empty just to have to walk back to their original teacher, you can set up your out of office. You can do this very quickly by clicking out of office and create. We have a couple of preset times. I'm going to click on half an hour and submit. So in 4 clicks, I have virtually locked my doors. If a student were to try to write a pass to come see me, they would get the message when they choose me as their to location that I'm unavailable, and it's going to give them a time stamp. So they know until 1:07, I'm not available. If they really need to see me at 1:08, they could write a pass to come see me. Now, you can take more time in setting up your out of office. You could set it for later on in the week. You also can add a comment. So if I'm not going to be in my classroom, but I am going to be available in the library, I could put that comment here, and the student who chooses me while I have my out of office on is going to get this initial comment and then also my additional comment, but you can see me in the library. They could then cancel this pass and create a new one to go to the library to come see me. On your dashboard, while your out of office is on, it's going to show you in this pink banner. It's going to show you also the timestamp of when your out of office is going to be turning off. If you want to end this prematurely, you can simply click the X. It's going to ask you if you're sure. You say okay. And now if we go through that scenario again where the student wants to come see me, they're no longer going to get that message that I'm unavailable because my out of office has been turned off. We have new release information. Whenever we make an update to Ehallpass, we give you a lot of documentation about it. What does it look like? What is it doing? Who is it going to affect? You're able to find that on your menu. You can refer back to it at any time. We also give you a lot of training information. There is a teacher's guide that's going to go into detail of all of the features that I showed you today. Once you get to the table of contents, it's hyperlinked. If you have questions about Appointment Pass that later on you realize, you can click on Appointment Pass and it's going to take you to that section of the guide that talks about that specific feature. We also have a whole slew of training videos, both for you as teacher and staff and for students. And we give you access to those videos so you can see what they have. On the student menu, they also have this training and they can go to their videos. They have a quick reference card which just quickly shows them how to log into Ehallpass, how to create a pass. We also have a quick reference card for you as teachers and staff. How do you log in? How do you interact with a pass on your dashboard? Just really kind of the basics are in the quick reference card, and then the teacher guide goes into much more detail. Are there any questions about something that I showed you or something that I have not showed you yet?
Karen, I have a question. We are, my biggest concern is going to be limiting bathroom access and making sure that bathrooms are open. So we will set our bathroom locations to 2, okay? What happens to a student that requests a bathroom that's full? What will they see? How will they know? Is there a waiting? Like, what's the process there?
Sure. So let me set up, let me do this. Let's do a proxy pass for student 3. Stop their nurse pass first.
All right.
Okay, so if the bathroom is set for 2 and 2 students are already there with approved passes, when the third student writes a pass to go to that same location, they're going to get this message. As soon as they choose that location, it's going to tell them the maximum capacity of the location has been reached. Please try again when a student returns.
Okay.
So we do not put those students into a queue. Each student, each third student who tried to write a pass to that bathroom while these 2 students were in there are going to have an equal opportunity to be that second student when one of these students go back to their original teacher.
Okay. So like we deal with the adolescent mind here, and if the adolescent mind, I need to go to the bathroom right now, so I will continuously refresh and request so that I am next in line. Is not what happens everywhere?
I mean, they can, it won't change anything until one of these students has reached their location.
Okay.
So they're just going to keep getting the same message. It's not available. They can keep trying.
Teachers remember to go in and hit end when they return, right?
Right. So it is very important when that student comes back into your classroom. These were not set up to be an auto pass location by this teacher. So the teacher actually has to hit end when that student comes back into the classroom. So if you are comfortable with setting up the auto pass so students can start and stop it on their own, then you don't have to worry about ending these passes when the student comes back into the classroom. So again, you'd go into auto pass and you would list out the locations that you want students to be able to start and stop from you, and the number of students that you're comfortable with being out at one time. So maybe 2, maybe you're okay with a boy and a girl, but you set the limit that you're comfortable with. And then when that student comes back into the classroom, they can click stop themselves. So then the next student will have the quickest opportunity to get into that bathroom. Any other questions? Yes.
I had 2 questions. Who sets the limit for the amount of students in the nurse's office? Is that something I do on my end, or is that something that's done on Mike's end, or how does that work?
So right now, the location limits are set up by an admin user. If you want to, you can set your nurses up as staff within Ehallpass, and then they would be able to alter that limit if they needed to. But that's something that would be decided by building leadership.
So I strategically asked different people to be in this meeting because, I'm guessing then I would set them to staff so I want them to be able to control their own workspace.
Yep. Yeah, so you'll want to set them up as staff. And then what I would suggest, Nicole, is that under your profile, so when you're switched to a staff, you're going to have an additional white box here, and you're going to be able to associate yourself with the location nurse. Then that location can have a limit, but you as an individual, there's no limit to the number of passes that a student could write to you by name. So for you, I would suggest changing this to no. So then students are not writing a pass to you by name, they're writing a pass to the nurse, and you can set that limit, and that is going to be a solid limit. No one will be able to find you as an individual, so when they choose where they want to go, they're not going to be able to find your name. They're only going to find the location nurse. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
The other question I had was, can I write as the nurse an auto pass for my students, for instance, who have diabetes, who need to have access to the nurse at all times? You know, I envision appointments for them for the regular
Mhm.
visits, but I'm wondering if for the not scheduled visits, like when they would need to come down, if I can write them auto passes.
So what you can do, and again, Michael, you're going to need to get involved in this as an admin level user. You can set up a location, name it, I don't know, medical need, something, set up that location. Then you can set up a members only list for the individual students that are allowed to have that location. Then also add it to the auto pass list and ask all teachers to at least have that location set up as auto pass. So then the student, no matter what classroom they're in, if they are on that members only list, can find that medical need location. It's set up as auto pass. They can set it up. They can start it themselves. They can leave the classroom. They don't need to involve the teacher. And other students who do not have that medical need will not even be able to find that location to try to access it.
Perfect.
I've always wanted to be in a members only club.
But do you want to have a medical need in order to be in that club? It's,
I've got a lot of
yeah.
needs.
A couple other limitations that can be set for individual students. Students can have a set number of passes they're allowed to have today. And once they hit that max, they're not going to be able to write any more passes for themselves. They're going to ask you to write them a proxy pass. But when you write that proxy pass and you choose that student that has a limit, you're going to be given that information. So you're going to be able to know this student has already written 3 passes for themselves today, and now they want me to write the 4th pass for them. You're going to be able to see that information. We already went over the location max. If the location has if the location has hit its max, the student is going to be able to know that. And if you choose that location for a proxy pass, you also are going to know that that location has hit its max. There's the location availability where there's the members only list or the access denied. The student is going to see either that they don't have that option. Again, if they ask you to write a proxy pass, when you pick that location for that student, it's going to tell you this student has a limit to, or not a limit, I'm sorry, this student has a limitation to this location. So you're going to be aware that that student should not be going to that location. And another item that's in Ehallpass that your admins will set up is what we call AB polarity. So if student 1 should never be in the hallway with student 2, it's just oil and water, it does not mix well, the system will prevent those students from being in the hallway at the same time. An admin needs to set up that pair. And then the student who tries to write a pass while their AB polarity pair is in the hallway is going to get a message that the hallway is not available to them. And if you try to write a proxy pass for them, when you choose that student, you're also going to get the message, the hallway is full for this student, please try again later. The final thing that you might run into is a pass block, where all of the passes are shut down in your school. And you would get a message that there is a pass block and also a timestamp. So maybe the 10 minutes before a fire drill is going to happen, your admin set up a pass block, so no passes can be written for those 10 minutes. You're going to get that message if you or the student tries to write a pass while that is happening.
Could I ask a quick question, please?
Sure.
So I'm the assistant principal, and sometimes we put students on pass restriction where they'll need an escort to a bathroom or something like that.
Okay.
So when one of those students initiates a pass, is there a way that there's like a notification or a pop-up on the teacher's end that they see that student's on pass restriction?
So
Like without the student saying, so students on pass restriction will ask to go to the bathroom, and normally we send memos out to the whole staff in an email, which is hard to manage. So I would love in the moment, I'm not sure if there's a way that the teacher, like when they see the pass come in, the request, that they would see that the student is on restriction and needs an escort.
So there is not currently a way within the system to make that notification. One thing that you could do is you can set the number of student passes for those select few as 0, and then they would not be able to write a pass themselves. They would have to ask for a proxy pass. And that might kind of alert teachers, there's a reason why the student can't write their own pass. Let me see if they're on the list. And then when they write that proxy pass, they can write it for that student. And then under reason for this pass, they could put their, the student who's going with them to the bathroom, they could put their name here. So any adult who looks at the dashboard would see the one student has a pass to the bathroom, and then also the other student's name is there. So in essence, they both have permission to be in the hallway.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Can we change the student's name?
Change from what Clever is sending us?
Yes.
Oh, no. Whatever is in Clever, that's how the student names will appear.
Okay, I was just wondering if we could add pass restriction on after their name.
Not unless it's officially part of their name in Clever.
Okay.
If you can manipulate that, then you could. But that is how we're getting your student's name into the Ehallpass system.
Is there a like banner in the dashboard that we can change? Does that make, like, I was thinking like every time you log in, there's a banner, like, no.
So there is not a banner that you can set up specifically for your school.
Okay, all right.
But that's a good idea. Let me. Yeah, so we're always trying to improve Ehallpass so that it works better for you as schools. So I will bring both of these back to our team as enhancement ideas of either having a banner that teacher, staff, and admin would see when they log into Ehallpass, and or also being able to designate certain students, you know, maybe like their names come up in red when a teacher writes a proxy pass, or being able to add some kind of identifier at the end of the student name so that you know they are in a particular list. Any other thoughts or questions?
And I'm.
Hey, when you get a chance, can you call me at 1954?
Okay. Well, thank you for all of your time. I do want to encourage you, if you have questions, everything seems to make sense when I'm just showing you the most simple ways to use the functions. Go to the training later on if you have questions, or there's a scenario that pops up that we didn't go over in the training. These will be quite helpful. But if there's anything beyond that, please send it to Michael or to John, and if they can't answer it, I'm happy to step in and help. I will send you this recording so that you can have this. Do you have another question?
I'm sorry, I have one question.
Yeah.
What would be the best way, in your opinion, to get students up to speed on this? If you were to say, Michael, this is the way to get your students up to speed, what would it be?
So I have heard from schools that if the first like 5 minutes of the homeroom period or whatever your first period of the day is, if you can encourage all students to go ahead and log into Ehallpass, show them that they answer 2 questions when they want to leave the classroom. They answer who they're with and where they want to go. That, you know, by the next day even, they know how to use the system. It's very, as long as they can log in, it's super easy for them to use.
Okay.
And then if down the road you want to explain to them, you know, that they have appointment passes, you know, you can go into that, but really the student side is super small. They write passes when they want to leave the classroom, and they check appointment pass to see if a teacher wants to see them.
Thank you. I think we can handle that. And
Awesome.
are much savvier than we are with tech, so that'll be good.
Yeah. I've showed my then 8-year-old how to write a pass once, and he can write passes. They have the motivation. They want to leave the classroom. They're going to figure out how to do it.
You know. Yep. All right. It's been
So.
wonderful. Thank you, Karen.
Great. Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.